Welcome back to another episode of A Gift from Adversity. Tonight we are recording episode 36. My name is Juri Love. I'm your host, and I'm very excited to have tonight's guest. Before I introduce my guest, I want to introduce my book, A Gift from Adversity. A Gift from Adversity is my book about my life. The subtitle is Overcoming Sexual Abuse, Domestic Violence, Bullying, and Homelessness. And I've experienced this in my life growing up in Japan. And I struggled a lot about PTSD, mental health, panic attacks throughout my life. And I felt really compelled to write a book. And after I published my book, a lot of people reached out to me and started to tell me about their adversities. And I felt very compelled to create a social media and podcast platform where people can talk about their adversities and tools that they use to overcome and a gift that came from it. And today I have very exciting special guest. Her name is Kayla Caulfield. And Kayla recently was in Oscar winning film. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But I'm very excited to have her tonight.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Welcome to our show. Yes, thank you so much. I'm very excited to have you. So before we start our topic, can you please tell your name to our audience and then what you do?
My name is Kayla Caulfield. I am based in Waltham, Massachusetts, and I am a Boston-based actress and model.
So Kayla, I know you have some exciting news that you can share with our audience recently. What happened?
So, so I was part of a small film called Coda. I filmed that a few years ago here in Boston, and it just recently made a huge sweep at the Oscars, and actually, like as a whole, the awards season. Like it won SAG Awards, it won BAFTA, it won Critics' Choice, but for the most of all, it won. Like it did a whole sweep at the Oscars. So it's pretty exciting. It's huge for us, for New England and the deaf community at large. So I'm ecstatic.
And I saw you on Facebook that you are actually in Hollywood. Is it
Yeah.
true?
Yeah, so I wasn't at the Oscars, but I mean, I was there like during the week of the Oscars, so I got to go with my mom, and we were watching the Oscars from my hotel. They had like a viewing on the rooftop, and like just watching Coda win best that screenplay, best supporting actor, and then when it won best picture, I broke down in tears. I just felt so accomplished, and I was just so happy to experience that with my mom because she's my rock, and so it was really nice to experience that with my mom. So it was unreal.
So I was watching your video and I was crying with you. And just to let our audience know, my son Jaden Owako and I are also in Oscar nominated picture called Don't Look Up.
Mhm.
And then we were watching together. We were very, very excited. My son was very excited. He's 11. And then we were so excited. And then we were so excited for you. And then the team Coda. And then I recently watched it at the theater and it was
Mhm.
so beautiful. It was so amazing. I cried. I should have brought my bath towel or something.
Yeah, that's what I say to people. I'm like, if you're gonna watch Coda, you need to have a box of tissues handy because it's gonna happen.
And all the places I love Hollywood State Park with the quarry, and then I
Mm.
went to Berkeley College of Music, and I felt so connected. And then when you came on the screen, I was like, Kayla, I was so happy for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So, can you tell our audience how can people follow you? Do you have Instagram? Do you have a website? Anything that you want to promote?
Yeah, so I obviously have a Facebook. You can just type in my name. But I have an Instagram, so it's KAY_Caulfield. So K underscore my last name.
Great. Do you have any website?
No, I just have like a modeling page on my Facebook, but that's really about it. I mean, I just mostly post like my work on my public, um, like profile on Facebook. Um, so yeah, that's where I post most of my stuff.
Great. Well, I'm very, very happy that you came to a gift from adversity tonight. And I think we met on one of the set, didn't we?
Yeah, it was. Oh my God, what was it? It was chili. It was or spirited, but chili. Yeah,
Yeah.
during the
So
overnights. Yeah.
we worked
No.
crazy.
Oh, those overnights.
Yes, absolutely. So, Kayla, it's been such a pleasure to see your journey and then to see the support system
Mhm.
and love that is pouring out to you from especially New England area actors. But let's dive into our podcast and then the main topic, which is adversity. So, if you don't mind sharing your adversity with our audience, that would be great.
Yeah. So growing up, I lived in a small town of Melrose. I've lived there my whole life. And growing up in school, I kind of, I was, I mean, I still am, but I was very, very shy. I wasn't very, you know, social. I was very shy, and in retrospect, I didn't have a lot of friends in all throughout my school years. So I was always left out of the crowd. I mean, I was a homebody growing up anyway, so I didn't go to parties, didn't get in any trouble. Like right after school, I went right home. So growing up, I didn't have like a big circle of friends. So like being social and plus like speaking to was a little bit of a struggle for me growing up. But yeah, I was like school was just not for me. It was kind of a struggle for me.
And then when did it start? Like from elementary school, kindergarten, middle school?
It basically started like around, I think my parents would tell me about it. Like around like preschool, like whenever I tried to talk to girls, they would just walk away from me. I was young, so I didn't know any better. So, but that just went on all throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, and I only have like at least like one or two friends really, and that was it. But I didn't have like a group of friends, and so yeah.
And before our interview, we were kind of mentioning about like the parties and stuff that you are really not sometimes invited or anything.
Mhm. Yeah, I wasn't invited to like any like Sweet 16s or any other gatherings. Like I just stayed home for the most part. I mean, at least I stayed out of trouble. I mean, because I was, like the way I was brought up, I just was not into that type of thing or that type of crowd, and I wasn't gonna follow into that type of crowd, and God knows what would have happened. But so yeah.
So throughout your school life, did you get bullied or it was isolation more so?
Just mostly isolation. I mean, like I said, I only have like two like close friends that I've had since like middle school or elementary school. But especially like, in the neighborhood that I grew up in, like there wasn't really a lot of kids like my age, like within my age range. Like they're all just like young families, and so I didn't have anybody to hang out with really. But yeah, it was mostly like just like isolation. Like none of the girls like really none of the kids in school like really included me in anything. Like I did sports, like I did softball and cross country, and that was kind of something a little along the lines of like being social and making friends and whatever, and extracurricular activities like being in choir or whatever. But yeah, I just didn't really click with anybody.
So I know now you're an adult, but
Mhm.
looking back when you're growing up, do you remember specific feelings when you are in that situation?
Oh, well, I mean, now that, of course, like now that I'm in like a really tight knit film community, I feel like I've made a lot more friends than I ever did in school. So, in a sense, like when I got into acting, like I mean, I wouldn't say I started over, but I just wanted to just like be like, okay, I'm gonna try to break out of my shell and just be myself. So I just have a bit of a refresh for me.
But when you are growing up, say in school, like, I know it was a long time ago, but
Yeah.
do you remember like specific feelings? Like whenever you go to school, did you have like anxiety going to school? Did you have any like fear or like some sort of
Mm,
depression or anything?
no, I mean, trying to think, trying to remember. I don't think I felt any type of like anxiety. Like I just was just like a normal kid. Like none of that really occurred to me. Like I was just a normal high school kid trying to get through the day. Yeah.
So like were you sad? Did you like do you remember like feeling sad or
Um. Yeah, you could say that. Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting a little sad right now. It's a little emotional for me, but but yeah, you could say that.
so just to let our audience know that I went through a lot of bullying and sexual abuse, physical abuse from my dad. And then when I was going through that, I was like 8 to 13. And at 13 years old, bunch of kids started to bully me suddenly. And then we were like friends since childhood. And then suddenly, like, I was targeted. And then while I was getting targeted, my dad at home was sexually, physically abusing me, and I lost word. I became mute, and I
Mm,
completely could not speak. And
yeah.
then they picked on it, and then they started to make fun of me that I'm
Mm,
deaf. And then they grew. I remember like I was getting like round up by girls, and then they were
mm,
picking on me that I can't speak. I became deaf when I was just going through this sexual abuse where I had absolutely no support. And I remember almost like numb. Like I just like bullying itself was very hard, but at the same
mm,
time my home was so bad that I just remember a feeling of devastation, but more so camouflaging me, hiding my emotion and
right.
just trying to
Exactly.
like survive like a day by day. And
Yeah.
then I was just really hiding my emotion, and later on that affected me as an adult, that if somebody assault me or insult me, I just don't feel anything. And then when I confine with people, oh Judy, that's horrible. And then my counselor said a lot of people who went through the PTSD and then emotional abuse and injury, that they don't know how to connect the event and then
Right.
emotions right away. There's a huge gap. And sometimes it takes me a week, or sometimes it takes me like months to even realize the magnitude of incident that occurred to me was a violation because I didn't know. So
Mm,
a lot of times tears, like fears, those are suppressed. And then later on my life, it just bursted into different things. So I am, first of all, so sorry that happened to you. And I can't imagine, like, my son just went through bullying, and it was so awful. And then to switch school, and then my daughter today, just today, got assaulted on her neck. And then
God.
the teacher called me. She's only 5. And she was showing me her neck. And my
Mm,
mom had boo boo and stuff. I felt
yeah.
really bad. So any social type of situation, regardless of age, kids can be
I
cruel,
know. Yeah.
and they
I mean,
can be.
especially girls. Like girls can be nasty. Like trust me. Like they're the worst. They're the worst kind. Especially in teenagers.
Yeah. And then I know it it's very hard for you to, dig through that, but did you um how did it affect you? How did it affect, like, right now, how old are you right now?
So I'll be 25 next week. So
Oh,
but
okay.
thank you.
Yeah.
Um but I mean, tracing back to when you mentioned about switching schools for your son, like my parents like even considered that for me. Like my freshman year in high school, like that was probably the worst year of my life. But um, like my parents like even thought about switching me to another school, but it was more for like something I wanted to do, like a agricultural school or like a special needs school, but because I have like I'm on the autism spectrum and have a bit of a learning disability, but we just decided just to push on through my last few years of public high school, so I did it. But I feel like it made me. I'm getting so emotional. I feel like for me, it it definitely like over the years I've started to break out of my shell a lot more,
Mhm.
like with the good people that I have around me. I'm sorry I get so emotional, but I feel like with good people around me, I can be myself.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and just to let you know that the reason why I created this platform is because I really felt compelled that there's not so much platform that we can freely talk about the adversity and challenges that we have. And then, to be honest with you, some people that came on my show that I never met, like I had a guest from Canada yesterday, and I
Mm,
have a guest from, Denmark, and then all over the America. And then adversity and challenges that we face are so universal language, yet it's not normalized. And then we need to really take out the stigma where people can talk about these things and then feel okay and feel safe. And then, learn from it that you're not alone going through this.
mm,
So even if you are having a challenging like situation, I had two middle school students' parents contacted me after I posted my son's bullying experience that they were in crisis, and then I had no idea they were in crisis of this situation at
mm,
school. And then not only that school part of it, I had an adult reach out to me and then told me that they were getting bullied at
mm,
work, and I had no idea. And then so I feel like oftentimes the victims are the one who are really traumatized, but yet we are muted, and then we are like almost like accused of being like bullied. Like so double victim in a way that we should be supported, but sometimes you don't have enough understanding of mental health and you don't have enough support system
mm,
when you are going through it. And especially my case is in 80s in
yeah.
Japan where nobody talked about PTSD. Nobody talked about sexual abuse. No, there was no Me Too movement whatsoever.
Mm,
So
right.
nobody understood what I was going through. And I was called crazy, traitor, all these kind of names. So I know you are in different generation. I'm 45, by the
Mm.
way. And then when you are going through it, did you have guidance counselor? Did you have some like maybe therapist? Like
Yeah, I had a guidance counselor. I mean, I was on an IEP, but I had a guidance counselor, and like in some of my classes, like both middle school and high school, like there was like a special needs ish class, like where I could like either kind of like a study hall sort of thing, where I can just like do my homework or any classwork that I need to do. So that was kind of a help for me. But but yeah, my parents like advocated for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I recently learned one of my karate classmate like was kind of similar situation, and then she said like trash was throwing at her, and then she was constantly getting picked on, and then
Mm,
she said her parents advocated for her. But as a parent, as myself being bullied when I was growing up, and as my son going through that thing, like recently, and then being an advocate for him. But when the school, the top leadership is not supportive, there's
right.
nothing you can
Yeah.
do. So was your school leadership supportive?
I wouldn't say they weren't supportive, but I mean, in retrospect, like in some cases, like especially for that, like the way I see it, um, like a parent's intuition is always right. Like a parent is always going to outsmart whoever thinks this is right for little Jimmy or whoever. But a parent is always going to know what's right for the child because you know your child, and my mom knew me. So I mean, not that the school was like against it or anything, but that's just like in different experiences. Like my mom had to be my voice for me. So whatever you do, just be an advocate for your child. Just
Yes.
yeah, prove them wrong, basically.
Yeah.
Like you
It's
know your child better than they do. So
yes. And in my case, my perpetrator was my father. And
mm,
then he was the one who was manipulating the school teacher that I was a traitor and I was a bad daughter. And when authority figures are the perpetrators and are manipulating the situation,
yeah,
I just felt hopeless. And then
yeah,
I escaped from him when I was 13. So, it's really hard, like not only being a victim, but, there was absolutely nobody to support and advocate for myself.
mm,
So, you know, it's just really horrible cycle, but at least your mom was there to be your voice and then being an advocate for you.
mm,
How did that feel when she was your voice, when she was really trying to understand what was going on?
mm.
Do you feel, do you remember that kind of feeling?
I mean, it wasn't like I wouldn't. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think because like, I wasn't really like quite aware of what was really going on. Like as far as like like what are my plans? Like am I planning on going to college? Like what are some of the classes I need to get done or completed or whatever. Like I wasn't really quite aware of all that. So my mom mostly took care of that stuff for me. So yeah, it wasn't really. I mean, I kind of understood, but like wasn't really aware. I guess.
I see.
Yeah,
Sounds like you have a wonderful mom.
I do. Yeah.
That's great. Well, Kayla, I really appreciate you being very brave and be vulnerable to talk about difficult time and adversity growing up. So now let's switch our topic a little bit to the tools that you use to overcome this. You a little bit mentioned about acting, but before you share your answer with our audience, I just want to let you know that you are my episode 36. Every single guest since I started this podcast had a completely different tools that they use to overcome. And then what I love about this part of the question is that when you're going through adversity and then when you meet people who had never experienced this magnitude of challenges in their lives, they will just say, "Oh, just find therapist. Oh, just go see a therapist. Just talk."
Mm,
And that that's not the full answer. And then there are so many modalities that people use to overcome. And then, as wonderful as counseling is, I did not like sometimes like the counselors, and then
mm,
I didn't click with some of the counselors. And then sometimes when you have mass health, when you have like low income, and then when you don't have the private insurance, it's so hard to find counselor, especially after the pandemic.
mm.
So people had shared with me so many different tools, and then this is um, one of my favorite part. So Kayla, can you tell our audience what are the tools that you use to overcome these challenges in your life that worked for you?
So, I mean, like I said, growing up, I had a little bit of a speech issue or speech delay. So, like in elementary school or even throughout high school, like I would still be pulled out of class to do like a speech class or some sort of like therapy thing. Um, but um, but I remember my mom telling me that she signed me up for like when I was little, she signed me up for like singing lessons because of my speech issue. So I guess I kind of found my voice in that, and which then led me to Coda, but that's another story. But 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 I feel like now like through I sang in like choir, I sang in a rock band, I did theater. I did a little modeling here and there, and then like after high school, like I knew like I didn't have any friends in high school, so you know what was I gonna do? So after I graduated, I took acting a whirl, and I feel like I've found a family in it. So I feel like the tools that I've used have been um, would be like um, just to be myself and just not. And I'm like a very insecure person, so like I just gotta be myself. I mean, that's what I always try to keep in mind. And even like now as an adult, I mean, I'm taking therapy. I mean, I suggested myself that I should take therapy because of personal reasons, um, but one I think the tool definitely to use is that I'm thankful for is like the voice lessons and whatever it helped me and to break out of my shell, really. So yeah.
So, do you remember your first acting gig?
So my first acting gig actually, so I started out with like doing independent films and masters in Rhode Island, but my first acting gig, well, as background, after I graduated high school was Central Intelligence. And I mean, I still do it here and there, but I'm kind of trying to back away from it. But Coda was my very first like featured role. So so there's that. But my first ever big film gig was Central Intelligence, and it went from there. And I would go to like even obviously pre-COVID, I go to like networking events and do like go to film festivals and kind of network from there and things like that, and just kind of build build my build my connections basically, and it just progressed from there, and I just so thankful to have people who support me and have my back no matter what. I'm a lucky girl.
I really appreciate you sharing the tools. So, people who are going through this right now, if you are to have advice, like if they're interested in maybe acting world, how do you think it would help them going through maybe bullying or isolation? Like, how would you describe that acting can be a little bit therapeutic, or like you said, another family? How would you describe that to people?
I mean, as far as acting, like I mean, if you have like a role or like whether it be like if you had a lead role or like a feature role or whatever it may be, you are playing a part. You're playing a character. I mean, you may not be yourself, but you're playing a character. So like you have to kind of like create that character. Like, is it the same person as you are? Is it totally different? You have the power to create like a person, a character. So creativity really comes into play, and like that's what I mean, especially like all through school, like people just don't get it. It's like like you just you create art at the end of the day, it's work, and you create art, and you just create magic basically. So, um, yeah, I don't think there's anything else.
So, did you have any idea when you were involved with Coda that it's gonna take off like this?
Oh my God, no, not at all. So I filmed that in October of 2019. Well, actually, yeah, in October 2019, and it was me and the kids. But they're actually from Berkeley. They're actually Berkeley students. So in a sense, I was kind of like a leader for them, because I was like a veteran. I knew of the business. They did not. So I had to kind of help them. I kind of had to help them out a little bit, which I was more than happy to help them out, and just let like have fun. And now that it is become so successful, I am proud of them. Like, they are part of something so monumental that they're gonna remember for the rest of their lives. So anyway, I remember when I worked on it, like after it wrapped, there was a certain point where nobody was getting paid. They were having financial issues. And I remember that there was another production that went through the same issue and actually didn't see the light of day at all. So I was like worried. I'm like, oh my God, this is probably going to be a flop. It's not going to go anywhere. But then you think, like with Marley and Madeline, I don't think like, I wouldn't see why it wouldn't go anywhere. So it was quiet for a little bit. And then, like early last year, that's when it got into Sundance, and then that's when Apple TV bought it for 25 mil, which was the biggest, purchase in Sundance history, that Apple TV bought it. So, and then it was released in August of last year, and then obviously earlier this year, that's when I started to pick up with in the awards season, like got nominated for SAG, nominated for BAFTA, nominated for critics, blah blah blah, and then of course the Oscars, and so here we are. So I definitely didn't think that it would become so huge. Like, I never imagined it in a million years.
Wow. Looking back, when earlier talked about your adversity growing up in school, then now you have this all attention of, Oscars and all this award, and then, being in this biggest movie of the year, basically.
Yeah,
How is it helping you cope the past?
it's helping me realize that. I mean, in a sense, when it won, again, like I felt accomplished, because like I said, I grew up like I had a speech problem, so singing was the key to help me out with that, and it led me to have a singing part in Coda. And so, in a sense, like my my gift of singing or music, or my love of music, my passion for performing, like whoever thought that it would be part of something so monumental, like I never thought it could happen, and I just felt so accomplished.
That is so, so, so beautiful. And then I'm so happy for you. And just to let you know that my son, well, my daughter too, we are all in this acting business. My
Yeah.
daughter started when she was 2 months old. My
Mm-hmm.
son really started maybe 3 years old. And then after, this bullying thing happened, but even during the bullying thing happened, he really was resilient and then did not miss a single audition. And one of the big audition, which I cannot say it yet until April 17th, that we just filmed the episode, that was during this craziness when he was having panic attack and stuff and the
Mm-hmm.
fever for school. But he had two callbacks with the producer and a main person, and then um, self tape, and I was just so proud of him.
Yeah.
And I think your story can inspire so many people that no matter how you are feeling in the past, when there's a chance like this,
Yeah.
winning an Oscar and being in this huge film and then having this snowball effect of success, like I just want people who are tuning in or will listen to our episode know that at the end of the day, you matter, not these people who belittle you, your passion, and then your mission, and then your light should never be, demolished by,
Mhm.
diminished, demolished by these people who are simply jealous of you or
Yeah, exactly.
insecurity. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
That's what I
did you?
say. Like they're just jealous. Like they're intimidated. Is what I like to say. They're intimidated by your success, your drive. They're intimidated by it. And that's what I like to think. Especially for your son. Like those kids are just they're intimidated.
Absolutely. And I myself should say I have accomplished a lot in my life, and I had share of jealousy and insult thrown at
Mhm.
me. I was called Hitler, I was called Stalin, I was called nobody want to work with you. That's why you don't have a boyfriend. You are incompetent. Like those things, like to me at this point of my life, they really don't matter.
Yeah.
I just like developed this shell of like, okay, I have audition. I have two tonight.
Hmm.
I really can't have these people, naysayers, affect me of what I want to accomplish and then what people expect me to do.
Yeah.
I have established my career as a journalist or actress. Whatever I've done, the people trust me, or being a producer, people trust me, throw at me these tasks. I just can't have this noise, like
Hmm.
let down of my work, on my mental health, and then slow me down. Like
Right.
they just can't slow me down.
Hmm.
So do you feel the same way when you are having this success and then people are starting to trust you more and then give you more opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very insecure person, physically, mentally, whichever way. Like I'm a very insecure person. So like, even if I like as far as auditioning goes, like even if I don't get a job, it's whatever. There'll be something around the corner for me or later on down the road. So I don't let it get to my head. Like if I don't get it, oh well. It's selection, not rejection. So but yeah, I'm just a very insecure person in general. So I mean, it's hard for me, especially in this day and age with social media, and it's just I mean, what you see on social media is just a highlight reel. Is what I always think to myself. Like the stuff that I see wherever is not you know is not realistic. So I try to remain myself and as you know humble and down to earth as I can because who will want some artificial version of me or whatever. Just want a, fake version of me. So,
Absolutely. Well, Kayla, I really appreciate you sharing your true self and story. I can't really thank you enough for being a part of the Gift from Adversity today. Now, let's talk about my last question, which is a gift that came from the adversity. So, what would you say the gift that came from these challenges?
the gift would be, gift would be, um, being, hmm, being more, like being more like open, like being more, you know, like I don't know how to say it, like, um, being, I don't know. I guess it would be like just like my strength. It'd be my strength just to kind of open up and just not be afraid of what people think of me.
So these experiences gave you a gift for you to be open and yourself and to be
Yeah.
strong. Strength.
Yeah.
Yes, that is easier said than done. And to be honest with you, 20 years ago, I would have never been able to advocate for myself and then be this strong and was able to say these things that happened to me. And for you to figure out at this young age, like you're gonna be great. And you know, the strength and then the openness that came from it, like it's just the word that you just said, but I feel the weight and I feel that took so much of you to come out of the other side and then be able to hold your vision and the strengths. And that is really crucial in success. So I really appreciate you sharing that, and you should be very, very proud of yourself.
Yeah.
Great. So Kayla, before we close our show, would you share your last word to our audience?
I just want to say thank you for having me on the show. It's been great. I love sharing my story of my struggles and stuff, and just know that even if people are going through the same thing or have gone through the same thing I have, they're not alone.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Well, everybody, this is a gift from university. My name is Juri Love. I'm your host, and then we have great guests coming in April, May, and then going forward. So I appreciate it, and then everyone have a wonderful night.
Thank you.